Welcome back to the Retro Hunting Adventures. I'm your host, Mr. Mega Man Fan, and this is the SD Media Launcher for GameCube and Nintendo Wii. What is it and what does it do? I'll tell you more about that after these words from Mega Ran.
Yo, this is Mega Ran, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. Mega Man Fan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
Thank you as always to Mega Ran for those wonderful words of introduction. This is the SD Media Launcher, and as it says on the package, Homebrew just got easier. This is a device that will enable you to boot up Homebrew, but you have to go through a few steps to make it work. It only comes with the SD media adapter and the launcher disc, which means one vital component of this setup is missing. You will need a micro SD card, and I would like to give you all the opportunity to learn from my mistakes. So here's what you don't want to do. Don't buy anything larger than 2 gigabytes. It will not work. Don't buy anything that's marked as high capacity, or HC for short. It will not work. This turns out to be more difficult than you would think. Most retail stores don't sell anything smaller than 16 or 32 gigabytes, and they are high capacity. So you will need to order from eBay or Amazon a 2 gigabyte non-HC micro SD card. You can get a smaller one if you want, but 2 gigabytes actually gives you some room to work with, and since it's the max that the media launcher can use, you might as well get the max. That way, if you want to load up a whole bunch of Homebrew and emulators and applications onto your memory, you have the room to do it. But you can also use the media launcher to create a GameCube memory card where you won't even need it anymore, and I will show you how. Now, if your micro SD card isn't already formatted to FAT16, you should do that first. Again, this may be a little more difficult than you would think because most things want to default to FAT32 or exFAT, but you can find workarounds to get it to FAT16. Usually you have to go into a tool such as this one, and once you do, you go to erase and select the type. If you bought the correct micro SD card, it will probably be FAT16 by default, but this is just something that's worth knowing anyway, and it's recommended to reformat it by most people who have Homebrew guides out there because there's just something about the slow read speed of these old micro SD cards that makes it really preferable to have it formatted clean to make sure that you get the best possible usage out of it. After this step, you're ready to start moving files onto it, and the SD Media Launcher requires a specific set of files if you want to create a memory card. There's an easy to follow along guide. If you search for GameCube Homebrew, it will take you to AJ O'Neill's page. He's also done a video about this that's incredibly helpful. He even embedded it in the article, and it explains to you how to create what you're doing. And of course, the SD Media Launcher is mentioned in there. You will want to get the latest version of Swiss, that's the Homebrew launcher for the GameCube, which will either be on your Media Launcher or your memory card that you've created with this process. And you will also want to get the GCMM, which is the GameCube Memory Manager. It's what you'll use if you're creating a memory card to transfer what's on your SD Media Launcher over to the memory card. And then you'll be able to boot off the memory card without the media launcher anymore. When Swiss downloads, you'll have a zip file like this, .7z, and at this point you'll expand the zip file, take out the relevant version of Swiss, and put it on your micro SD card. So let's go ahead and do that right now. There are a lot of folders in the zip file for a lot of different versions of this process, but for the one we're doing, go to Action Replay and you will need autoexec.dol and stloader.bin. Whatever you name as autoexec on your micro SD card will be booted immediately by the SD Media Launcher. And that's what we want because it'll take us to Swiss, and then Swiss will allow us to use the GameCube Memory Manager. Easy peasy, nice and breezy. Speaking of the memory manager, there's a helpful link to it in AJ O'Neill's guide, so I will go ahead and download that right now and unzip it and show you what you need in that folder as well. Once again, don't worry about the extra files that are in the folder. Just go to the GameCube folder, grab GCMM14F or whatever the current version is, and drop it into your micro SD card's root folder. You're using the root for all of this. You will also need a folder on your root called MC Backup because that's what the GameCube Memory Manager reads from. It's very specific for I don't know what reason, but if you don't have MC Backup, you won't be able to find what you're looking for. Now comes the fun part, deciding which game you're going to use to launch off your memory card, because you still need to pick a game to use with it to crash into your Swiss. I chose The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker for 2 reasons. 1, I already have it, and 2, it's so simple that you can just create the memory card, put in Wind Waker, and once you press start on Wind Waker, it immediately crashes to your memory card. With some of the other exploits, you have to load a saved game or do a few extra steps, but Wind Waker, it's just instantaneous, and fast is what you want. If you already have to take the time to get out your copy of Wind Waker, your specially prepared memory card, and boot up both, well, you might as well make it as fast as possible. So here's the Wind Waker hack, which is region specific depending on where you are. So make sure you select the right one, whether you're in NTSC or PAL territory, and then put it into MC Backup on the root of your micro SD card. There, that's it. You will need one other thing in the MC Backup folder. Go back to your Swiss zip, go to GCI, look for boot.gci, drag that to MC Backup, and there you go. As AJ O'Neill's guide says here, you're going to put the memory card in slot A and the SD adapter in slot B, and then you're going to use the launcher disk that came with your SD media launcher, and that will detect your SD card in slot B. From there, you will be able to go to GCMM. You will be able to create your memory card by copying the 2 files in MC Backup to the memory card from slot B to slot A. It'll tell you that you're restoring saved data. That's really not what you're doing. You're just copying over data from B to A, but they can call it whatever they want. You're restoring it, and then once it's on there, you're going to have a launcher from Wind Waker, and you'll never need to use the SD Media Launcher again. You could if you want to, but you won't have to. And now I will show you what it looks like once you've prepared a Wind Waker hacked memory card. Keep in mind the advantages of doing it this way are that you don't have to put a mod chip in your GameCube. You don't have to hack it apart in any way. You can just launch this off of Wind Waker with no physical changes to your GameCube whatsoever. And it is so fast when it happens. Just watch this. As soon as we get to the screen where it says press start, that's what I'm going to do. And then, like magic, it will crash immediately. Bang! There it is. Swiss version 0.5. No mod required. And what can you do now that you have Swiss? Anything you want. You can run any Homebrew emulator. A lot of people use it for the Game Boy interface. If you have a Game Boy player and you don't have the launcher disc, this allows you to use the Game Boy player and still play your Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color games without the proprietary Nintendo software. And some people say the Game Boy interface is actually better because it offers pixel resolutions that the Game Boy player's launcher software does not. But there's Sega Master System emulators, Nintendo emulators, Super Nintendo emulators. Put all this stuff on your memory card with the GameCube Memory Manager. Anything that you want to use, you can do it from your now hacked save file for The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Incidentally, you may have a financial incentive to do this anyway because if you have the Game Boy player and not the launch disc, it costs you about $120 on eBay, so GBI is a good way around that. But look at all this different stuff you can run with Swiss. I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan, and as always, thank you for watching.